All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be jumping into the world of photography. Specifically, we're going to be looking ahead to 2025. We want to see what trends are going to be shaping the way we create and consume visuals.
It's really exciting to think about what's coming next in photography. But it's not just about like the newest camera or the latest editing software. It's about the bigger picture, like how is technology changing the game and what kinds of images are really going to resonate with people in a few years.
Absolutely. And we've got a ton of sources to help us unpack all of this. We've got articles, reports, even a YouTube video from a photographer in Berlin, Katja Feldmeyer. Our goal today is to break it all down and hopefully extract some insights that you can actually use, whether you're a pro photographer or just someone who loves taking pictures.
Yeah, because let's be honest, it's impossible to keep up with everything that's happening in the world of photography. So we're here to do the heavy lifting for you.
Exactly. So let's start with the basics. Why should anyone even care about trends?
Well, trends are more than just like passing fads. They can give us clues about where the industry is heading, what clients are going to be looking for, and what kind of visual language is going to be most effective.
I totally get that. I remember when everyone was obsessed with HDR photography, like those super saturated, almost hyper real images. I went all in on that trend. And looking back now, my photos just scream like early 2010s.
Right, and that's the thing. Trends can be tempting to follow blindly, but it's more about understanding the forces behind them and figuring out how to use them to your advantage.
So it's not just about hopping on the bandwagon, it's about understanding why the bandwagon is even moving in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those forces that are driving trends in photography. And I think it's safe to say that technology is playing a huge role.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the key tech advancements that are going to be shaping things in 2025?
Well, get ready for even more AI. It's already changing the game when it comes to photo editing, and it's only going to get more powerful. Think of that like having a digital assistant that can help you with all those tedious tasks.
Like, what kind of tests are we talking about?
Well, for example, imagine selecting a really complex object in Photoshop, like a wispy strand of hair, something that used to take forever. Now AI can do it in seconds.
Does sound like a time saver.
Yeah,
But I wonder if there's a risk of becoming too reliant on these AI tools. Will photographers lose some of their core skills?
that's a valid concern. But I think the key is to use AI as a tool to enhance our creativity, not to replace it altogether. The human eye, the composition, the storytelling, those are still the things that make a photo truly great.
Brett, it's about using technology to empower ourselves, not to become dependent on it.
Exactly.
So, besides AI, what other tech trends should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, drones are becoming more affordable and easier to use, which means we're going to see even more stunning aerial photography. And then there's VR and 360-degree imaging, which are creating totally immersive experiences.
It's like stepping right into the photo.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can't forget about our smartphones. The cameras on these things are getting so good, it's blurring the lines between amateur and professional photography.
Absolutely.
So it seems like the tools for creating amazing photos are becoming more accessible than ever.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we talk about technology. But let's get to the fun part, the visual trends. What kind of images are people actually going to be taking in 2025?
Well, one trend that's making a comeback is the retro vintage aesthetic. In grainy film textures, black and white, faded color.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I haven't seen that a lot lately.
It's like a nostalgic throwback in a world that's constantly obsessed with the new and shiny.
The online magazine Lumi actually featured a photographer, Mariana Pedrosa, whose work perfectly captures this retro vibe. Here's something AI can't replicate: genuine human emotion.
That's some interesting.
It's like the more technology advances, the more we crave the real and authentic.
It's like a pendulum swinging back and forth.
Okay, so we've got the retro trend and the authenticity trend. What other stylistic trends are we seeing emerge for 2025?
Well, in a world that's constantly bombarding us with visual information, it's no surprise that minimalist aesthetics are gaining traction.
Minimalism. Like clean lines, simple compositions, lots of negative space. Yeah, that would be appealing.
It's like a visual palette cleanser, a way to find calm in the chaos.
It's funny though, because then you have the complete opposite trend, which is bold, bright colors.
Right. That trend is all about high contrast, vibrant imagery that just grabs your attention.
Lumi used the photographer S.H. Aiko as an example of this trend. His work is just bursting with color and energy.
It's like a visual sugar rush.
It is.
It makes sense though. In a world where everyone's competing for attention, bold colors can really cut through the noise.
Okay, so we've got minimalism on one end of the spectrum, and bold colors on the other.
Yeah. Another trend we're seeing is a focus on visual storytelling. Photographers are borrowing techniques from cinema to create images that tell more complex, engaging stories.
Oh, yeah, like using different angles and lighting.
Exactly. It's about thinking of each photo as a scene in a movie.
We see this a lot in advertising and social media now.
You do?
It's like brands are realizing that visuals can be just as powerful as words.
Exactly.
So it seems like photography in 2025, it's about more than just taking pretty pictures. It
It
is.
is.
It's about evoking emotions, telling stories, and creating experiences.
That's right.
This has been super insightful. We've covered a lot of ground already. But before we get too carry away with all these stylistic trends, I think it's important to talk about the business side of things.
Yeah, definitely. Because at the end of the day, most photographers want to make a living from their art.
Exactly.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about the business side of photography. Because taking stunning photos is one thing, but actually making a living from it, well, that's a whole other challenge.
It is. And I think a lot of photographers struggle with that, especially in today's market.
Definitely. Okay, so one trend that's becoming increasingly important is sustainability.
Sustainability,
Yeah,
like in terms of the environment.
exactly. Clients, especially in the commercial world, are looking for photographers who operate in an eco conscious way.
That makes sense. It's like the whole farm to table movement. But for photography,
Right. It's not just about the final product anymore, it's about the entire process.
so what are some things that photographers can do to be more sustainable?
Well, a lot of it comes down to simple choices, like using digital formats to reduce paper waste, relying on rechargeable batteries,
Meh,
and minimizing travel whenever possible.
right. Those are all things that any photographer can do.
Exactly. And it's not just about being environmentally responsible, it's also about appealing to a growing segment of clients who value sustainability.
So it's a win win.
It is.
Okay, so sustainability is one big trend. What else should photographers be thinking about from a business perspective?
Well, another key trend is the power of community, specifically online reviews and recommendations.
Oh, yeah, those are huge these days.
They are, potential clients are much more likely to trust what other people are saying about you
Uh,
than what you say about yourself.
so it's not enough to just have a great portfolio anymore. You need to build a strong online reputation as well.
Exactly. You need to engage with your audience, encourage reviews, and basically treat your photography business like any other small business.
It's like you have to be a marketer as well as an artist.
You do, and that can be a challenge for a lot of photographers who just want to focus on taking great pictures.
I get it.
But the reality is, if you want to be successful in today's market, you need to be savvy about the business side of things as well.
So, sustainability and community. Are there any specific platforms or tools that photographers should be paying attention to?
Well, one platform that's emerging as a real powerhouse for photographers is Threads.
Threads. I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it.
Well, it's a visual first platform
Yeah.
that's really well suited for showcasing photography.
So it's kind of like Instagram.
It is, but with a stronger focus on community and engagement.
Interesting.
The Professional Photography Business Network actually highlighted Threads as a key platform to watch in 2025.
So photographers should definitely check it out.
They should.
Okay, so we've talked about sustainability, community, and threads.
We have.
What else is on the horizon for photographers in 2025?
Well, now that we've covered the business side of things, time to dive back into those specific stylistic trends that we were talking about earlier. Yes.
Let's do it.
Rumi actually compiled a fantastic list of trends that are going to be huge in 2025. Everything from minimalist product shots to epic landscapes, underwater photography, close up macro shots, you name it.
Wow, that's quite a range.
It is. And it just goes to show that there's a trend out there for every photographer. No matter what your style or niche is,
I love that.
it's an exciting time to be a photographer.
It is. Okay, so let's get into some of these specific trends.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've covered the big picture trends: sustainability, authenticity, the rise of AI. Now I'm ready to get into the visual nitty gritty. What are those specific styles and techniques that are going to be defining the look of 2025?
All right, let's dive into some of the trends that Design Check and some of our other sources have identified.
I'm ready.
Okay, well, one trend that caught my eye is what Design Check calls the old money aesthetic.
Old money aesthetic, what's that all about?
Well, imagine those like really classic, elegant images, subtle color palettes, a sense of like understated luxury.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
It's not about being flashy or over the top. It's more about that quiet confidence, an appreciation for quality and craftsmanship.
I could see this being really popular with certain brands,
Mhm.
the ones that want to project that image of heritage and sophistication.
Absolutely, it's all about timelessness.
Okay, so we've got old money. What about black and white photography? Is that still a thing in this age of vibrant colors and filters?
Black and white will never go out of style. It's a classic for a reason.
True.
Design Shack actually highlighted high contrast photography as a major trend, and that often goes hand in hand with black and white.
Right, the dramatic play of light and shadow.
Exactly. It's so effective for creating mood and
And
atmosphere.
it really makes you focus on the composition. The shapes, the textures, the line.
It's all about stripping things back to the essentials.
I like that.
And we're seeing a lot of experimentation with black and white in 2025, toying with grain, texture, and unconventional compositions.
So it's not just your traditional black and white photography.
Yep. It's being reinterpreted and reinvented.
I'm into it.
Yeah, it's exciting to see.
Okay, so we've got old money and high contrast, black and white. What else is trending?
Well, on the other end of the spectrum, we have experimental photography.
Experimental photography.
Basically, it's all about breaking the rules, trying new techniques, embracing the unexpected. Sounds fun. It is. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the camera.
So if you're a photographer who likes to play and explore,
This is the trend for you.
that's really nuts. What else?
Well, another trend that's gaining traction is pattern focused photography.
Patterns.
Think textures, repeating elements, geometric shapes.
Okay, I can see that.
It's about finding beauty in the everyday, turning ordinary objects into your abstract art.
We see this a lot in architecture and design photography.
We do, but it can be applied to any genre, really.
It's about training your eye to see the world differently.
Exactly.
Okay, what about lighting?
While golden hour lighting is still as popular as ever, of course. Who doesn't love that warm, magical glow?
It's perfect for portraits, landscapes, pretty much anything.
And it's a natural filter.
Could say that.
Speaking of filters, without the trend of using subtle filters.
It's definitely still a thing, but it's become more nuanced. It's less about heavy handed effects and more about enhancing the existing mood of an image.
With a little touch up.
Exactly.
Okay, what else is Design Shack predicting for 2025?
Well, one interesting trend is faceless stock photography.
Faceless.
Yeah. So these are images that feature people, but you don't see their faces.
Oh, interesting.
It's great for mock ups and marketing materials
Oh,
because you can use the image without being tied to a specific person.
that's clever.
It is.
What else?
Another trend is rustic backgrounds, especially for product and food photography.
Okay, yes, and now what?
It's all about natural textures, earthy tones, bringing a bit of the outdoors in.
It creates that warm, inviting feel.
Exactly.
Okay, what about something a little more dramatic? Well, Design Shack mentioned hydroma photography.
High drama.
Yeah, so these are images that are meant to evoke a strong emotional response. Think bold colors, unusual compositions, dramatic lighting.
So it's about going beyond just capturing a scene.
It is. It's about creating an experience for the viewer.
I like that.
Another trend that's building on that idea is cinematic storytelling.
Cinematic storytelling.
Yeah, so photographers are using techniques from filmmaking, like wide angle shots, close ups, strategic camera angles.
To create a more immersive experience, seeing a rise in cinemagraphs, which are those still images with a subtle element of motion.
Right. They're really captivating.
They are, it's like a little bit of magic.
Okay, and then we have staged still life photography, which is all about creating those perfectly curated compositions.
Oh, yeah, like those Instagram worthy flat lays.
Exactly. It's popular for product photography, food photography, and social media in general.
It's all about aesthetics.
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay, what else?
Well, another trend that's influenced by social media is the rise of vertical photos,
Vertical photos.
because of smartphones.
Right, everyone's scrolling on their phones these days.
Exactly. So vertical photos just make more sense for that format.
Makes sense. Okay, and what about selfies?
Well, selfie style photography have actually become a trend in its own right.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just about casual self portraits anymore. It's become a way for photographers to capture the energy and spirit of youth culture.
Interesting how something that started as a personal form of expression
No,
has evolved into a legitimate photographic style.
the world of photography is constantly evolving, so the best thing you can do is to stay open to new ideas and approaches.
I think that's the perfect note to end on. So, a huge thank you to you for sharing your insights and expertise with us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of photography. keeps those cameras clicking, and we'll see you next time.